morning. Oh man, it's really dark. Oh well, you're gonna have to live with it today. I don't know why it's so dark in here, but we are here, ready for the Red Stinker Tinker, Week 7. Got our Chiefs Cup this morning. Last time we went Shockers. Today we'll go Chiefs. Big game in Denver. Hoping to pull off another good win, keep that winning streak going. But let's dive into some fantasy football today. In terms of the Red Stinker Tinker, we'll start with our quarterbacks as we always do. I'm looking at Kyler Murray tonight against Seattle as a top quarterback of the week. It's a huge game. Russ versus Kyler. It's a divisional matchup. Flex into the Sunday Night Football. And I don't think we could ask for a better quarterback matchup here in Week 7 as those two battle it out. Seattle has been the worst defense against quarterbacks this season through the first 6 weeks. And Kyler Murray has that rushing floor that I really think will help boost him into the quarterback one on the week. Remember in Week 5, obviously we skipped last week, but in Week 5, I also talked to you about quarterbacks in any position that you might not think is going to be a top person in that position this week. So this week for quarterback, I'm going Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, both rookie quarterbacks. Herbert was quarterback 4 in Week 5 the last time we saw him before their bye week. This week he gets a bad Jacksonville team to keep rolling there. And Joe Burrow going up against the Cleveland Browns again. Last time he saw the Browns, he went off for 24.5 fantasy points. He finished as a top 10 quarterback when they faced the Browns. I hope that the rookies can keep their shit rolling this week. Liking what I'm seeing from both of these rookies so far. Our top running back of the week, we're going Alvin Kamara. It's a really easy. It's probably too easy for me to choose Alvin Kamara. But going against a Carolina defense that I just can't avoid with my running back so far, I keep telling you how much I like going against the Panthers defense, and I really like Alvin Kamara. If you're rostering Kamara, obviously it's a safe play, so you can really just kind of play it safe with the rest of your roster as well. If you're thinking you need a boom or bust guy, go with the guy who is maybe a more safe play if you've got Kamara in your roster in your lineup as well, knowing that he should be going off and he should be booming for you there. And then the top 24 running back that I'm going to give you that you probably don't expect to be an RB2 this week is Alvin Kamara's counterpart, Latavius Murray. Look, New Orleans is missing Michael Thomas. They don't have Emmanuel Sanders this week. I just talked about how terrible the run defense is for Carolina. You might be missing out on Aaron Jones right now. Maybe you have Raheem Mostert, and he's out hurt. Dalvin Cook is on a bye this week. Go ahead and queue up Latavius Murray. Put him in your flex. Put him in your RB2. I think he ends up as an RB2, a top 24 running back this week. And you'll actually hear a little bit more about how much I like Latavius Murray later on in the Stinker Tinker here. Let's go into running back or wide receivers first, though. Going right back to tonight's game, DeAndre Hopkins as the top wide receiver of the week. There was about 8 wide receivers I liked in this situation. But I'm just going to roll with DeAndre Hopkins. I already took Kyler Murray as my top quarterback of the week. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins, his favorite weapon, as the top wide receiver as well. Poor Seattle secondary, paired with a great Seattle offense. Again, I think this game tonight could be a shootout and give me all the DeAndre Hopkins as I can get. A top 24 wide receiver this week is Deontay Johnson. Rumbling Clan, we know we haven't seen a lot of Deontay Johnson recently, right? Whether he's been injured, they had that weird bye week that came up a couple weeks ago. But we forget in Week 2, his last completely healthy game, he ends up scoring 23.2 fantasy points as a wide receiver 6 back in Week 2. It seems like he's healthy. I thought he was healthy going in a couple weeks ago, and then he hurt his back on the first play. He's supposed to be healthy again. If he can stay healthy, he gets through this game against a poor Tennessee defense who just got shredded by the Houston Texans last week. Deontay Johnson gets back on track this week. Look for him to end as a wide receiver too. My top tight end of the week, Hunter Henry. In LA, great matchup against Jacksonville. I talked about Justin Herbert. Hunter Henry has been one of Herbert's favorite targets this year. He's a guy who put up 4 for 23 and a touchdown in week 5, the last time we saw this Chargers offense. Look for Justin Herbert to really continue to build the chemistry between him and his tight end, Hunter Henry. I got a stat here. Henry has had at least 7 targets in 4 of his 5 games. I think that's going to continue this. If he falls into the end zone, he ends up as a top tight end, at least top 5. I think he's got a chance to be our number 1 tight end of this week. The tight end, with tight end, I go tight end 1 because normally we're playing 1 tight end. So the tight end 1 that I think is going to happen this week that you might not have on your radar still, which you should, that's Robert Tonyan. If we take a look at the last 3 weeks, just the last 3 weeks, here's your top tight end scorers. George Kittle, okay, number 1. We expected that, and no surprise. Travis Kelce, yeah, we know him. Of course, he's going to be the number 2 over the last 3 weeks. And Mark Andrews. Okay, we're not surprised there. You're probably wanting me just to get to the damn point by this point. Number 4, Robert Tonyan, and he's only played 2 games. So over the last 3 weeks, he's only played 2 games, and he's the 4th best tight end in terms of total points over those 3 weeks. He did get shut down a little bit last week against a good Tampa Bay defense, which the entire Packers offense kind of got shut down last week. This week they're facing Houston. Okay, Houston defense last week gave up this stat line: 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. It wasn't to A.J. Brown. It wasn't to Jonnu Smith. Anthony Firkser. Who the heck is that? If Anthony Firkser can go for 8, 113, and a touchdown, look for Robert Tonyan to have a great stat line this week. He gets in there. He ends up as a tight end 1, and you might need him. Mark Andrews is on a bye this week. Maybe you don't trust Noah Fant quite yet, coming off of an injury. Get Robert Tonyan in your lineup if you have him on your roster. It's going to be a great streaming tight end this week. On to a couple games that I'm looking at this week. One I like, one I don't like. The give me all of that game of the week is going to be Detroit versus Atlanta. Why not? Both defenses are poor. An over-under of 54.5. 2 offenses that will really just sling the ball all over the place. They got great weapons. A report came out this morning. DeAndre Swift is looking to expand. They're looking to expand his role. Okay, we'll take some more DeAndre Swift as well. You had Swift with Stafford and Galladay. TJ Hawkinson is a great play this week. And on the other side of the ball, we all know Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. I'd even throw Russell Gage in there still. Anytime Julio plays, Russell Gage has a sneaky good play. He could be a deep league flex play for you if you need him. I also think, I don't know, I'm not going to predict this, but you know how Marvin Jones Jr. always has the 1 3-touchdown game? Every year it seems like he's got a 3-touchdown game. Could it be today? I mean, if you're playing some daily, throw him out there. Throw him in a tournament lineup for daily. I don't necessarily trust him enough to play in your season-long fantasy, but could be a nice play. Everyone in this game. Todd Gurley has a decent matchup. It's great offensive weapons all over the place in this game. Detroit versus Atlanta. Give me all of that. And then on the other side, the don't like that game, I'm going San Francisco 49ers versus the New England Patriots. Look, the 49ers looked better last week against a Rams team, which was a little bit surprising that they played so well. But can you really trust anyone outside of George Kittle right now? I don't think I can. Raheem Mostert's out again. Jerick McKinnon flat disappeared when Raheem Mostert was in. Is McKinnon going to be the guy again? JaMychal Hasty had more touches last week than Jerick McKinnon did. So is JaMychal Hasty going to be that? Jeff Wilson's coming off injury this week. The running back is just a mess right now in San Francisco. Deebo Samuel has looked good, but can you trust him against a Bill Belichick defense? I don't right now. I haven't seen enough out of him quite yet. And then on the New England side, I don't trust anyone. Cam Newton looked like garbage last week. They don't have a running back that you can go out and play against the San Francisco defense. And Julian Edelman looks like he might be washed up. So I don't trust anybody in this game. Outside of George Kittle, I don't want to play a single player out of this game. San Francisco 49ers versus the New England Patriots. Don't like that. All right, on to your snooze, you lose player of the week. Justin Jackson with the Los Angeles Chargers. And yes, I know I've talked a lot about the Los Angeles Chargers already today, but I just think we might forget about how good that offense was starting to look before their bye week. And they got a great matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. Justin Jackson was my coulda, woulda, shoulda in my week 5 stinker tinker. And he's still only owned in 67% of leagues. So he still might be available in your league. I'd go check it out. Don't only pick him up if he's available, put him in your lineup this week. Coming off a bye, we kind of forget about Jackson's first full game that he had as Eckler's backup. In that game in week 5, he put up 14.5 fantasy points. He's only being started in 41% of leagues currently. He's easily an RB2. I think he's got top 10 potential this week. Justin Jackson, you snooze, you lose. Our hit it and quit it this week. It's a little weird because I still haven't seen an injury update quite yet, but it's going to be A.J. Dillon if Aaron Jones is out. So I saw Aaron Jones was not going to be playing this week, and then this morning I saw that he's there. He's going to still try to play this week. If Aaron Jones plays in season long, you have to play him. You have to play Aaron Jones. You can't bench him for really most of your running backs, especially at this time with so many injuries and bye weeks. You're going to be playing Aaron Jones. But if he's labeled out, which should be coming out over the next 30 minutes or so, usually they have all the in and outs by 11. If he's out, I know Jamal Williams is there, but if you're in a dire need, if you're an Aaron Jones owner, I'm taking A.J. Dillon over Jamal Williams. There's a lot of coach speak talking about how they need to get A.J. Dillon more involved. I think that he might have a role even into the future a little bit, which potentially could take away Aaron Jones a little bit. I'm not going to say he's going to overtake Aaron Jones this year, but look for him to get a lot of run today if Aaron Jones is out. A.J. Dillon, hit it and quit it. The coulda, woulda, shoulda of the week. Remember 2 weeks ago I told you Justin Jackson. Now I'm talking about Justin Jackson as a guy you need to put in your lineup. So you got to go get these guys right now. They're owned in less than 50% of leagues if they're on my coulda, woulda, shoulda, which means you can go put him on your bench right now, stash him at the end. And this week is Joe Burrow. Somehow he's dropped back below that 50% threshold after starting very hot. I know he had a super terrible game in week 5 against Baltimore, but he's a rookie quarterback. You had to expect he was going to have a bad game against Baltimore. Last time he played against Cleveland, we talked about earlier, he threw the ball 61 times. Today he does not have Joe Mixon out there with him. I think he's a fine streamer this week, but ultimately he's a guy you're going to want to put on your bench right now and stash him. Next week he's got the Tennessee Titans. They can be exposed. The defense is kind of hurting in Tennessee, and Houston just exposed them. And I expect that Ben Roethlisberger exposes them a little bit this week as well. Pick him up, stash him. This is what is during your playoff push. This is what Joe Burrow's schedule is going to be. So week 9 he's going to have a bye, and then week 10 he's playing against Pittsburgh. You're not going to use him those 2 weeks. But week 11 through week 14 he plays Washington, the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, and the Dallas Cowboys. Anytime you can get 3 NFC least teams out of 4 games, you're going to love that schedule. That's right during your playoff push. Maybe it's the beginning of your playoffs. Remember, we're starting to look in the future right now. We want to make sure that we're building a roster that we can win the championship with. Joe Burrow could be a great addition to your team. Put him on the end of your bench right now and just hold on to him for the next 3 weeks. And then week 11, you're going to start playing him, and he's going to pay off for you. Joe Burrow, coulda, woulda, shoulda. My fallback boy this week, Amari Cooper. Look, he's the 5th best fantasy wide receiver in total points through 6 weeks. He's really paid off for you. And if you're going to have to still run him out there. I'm not telling you to not play him this week. But I do think he ends up outside the top 12. So just really temper your expectations. Remember, before this season, Amari Cooper had a lot of inconsistencies. You'd get one of these games against Washington. It's not in prime time. He kind of just disappears. Don't be surprised if something like that happens this week with Amari Cooper. He's been a lot more consistent throughout the season, but I think this could be it. They're having offensive line struggles. Andy Dalton didn't look great last week. Look for Amari Cooper to really kind of fall outside that top 12 of wide receivers this week. Amari Cooper, temper your expectations. He's my fallback boy. My bold prediction of the week, I told you you're going to hear more about Latavius Murray, and it's Latavius Murray scoring 2 touchdowns on the day. I told you New Orleans is without Michael Thomas, without Emmanuel Sanders. They're going to have to get creative with Alvin Kamara, and he's going to touch the ball a lot, but they're not going to give him 40 rushes, right? So those rushes are going to go to Latavius Murray, and Latavius Murray, I think, finds a way to get in the end zone twice. You might need a desperation dart throw right now at running back. A lot of injuries, a lot of bye weeks. What's going on in Green Bay right now? What's going on in San Diego right now? Just a lot out there right now that Joshua Kelly in LA hasn't been doing great, so maybe you need to replace him. A guy like Latavius Murray could be a decent RB2 or flex play for you this week. I'm telling you, I think my bold prediction, he scores 2 touchdowns this week. He'll lead you potentially to a fantasy win this week. All right, let's finish up here. We got a couple of last-minute start-sit questions. Miller Time texted me earlier. I actually just made a trade with him. I traded Travis Fulgham for a second and third round pick in House of Cards. It's always nice doing business with this guy. Him and I, we trade pretty well together, I think, and he's asking me for a little bit of advice. And this week, the start-sit question is Drake, Le'Veon Bell, or Devin Singletary. Who are we going to start as their RB2? In this situation, I'm going to take Kenyon Drake. I'm not sold on Kenyon Drake still. I was all in on Kenyon Drake at the beginning, but he's clearly not had a great season yet. He had a great game last week, but remember, he had that 69-yard touchdown at the end of the game. Won me a lot of money, so I was super pumped for it, but it was one play, and sometimes fantasy football can get skewed by one play. So we're not going to necessarily think that Drake's going to be great quite yet. But in this situation, we haven't seen Le'Veon Bell in this Kansas City offense quite yet. It's supposed to be a snowy, nasty game. Denver's pretty good against the run as well. So I'm not quite ready to jump on Bell this week. And then Devin Singletary hasn't done jack shit since Zach Moss got back. I don't know what it is. He's got a great matchup against the Jets, but I don't know. You barely see Singletary on the field now that Zach Moss is healthy, but you also don't see a lot of Zach Moss. So not sure what Buffalo's doing with the run game right now. Kenyon Drake's the only guy I can trust out of these 3 this week. Scary to say that, but that's who I would be taking. And then the other question, Mi Hermana asks, Deontay Johnson, can I put him in or should I keep him on my bench? Well, I already told you what I think about Deontay Johnson this week. So I go and text her. And then she asked follow-up question, who do I bench? Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, or Chris Godwin? Well, sister, you got a great problem on your hand. I mean, those 5 wide receivers, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them this week. I love McLaurin and Boyd's matchups this week. So for me, in this situation, and really only this situation probably, in all other situations, I'm probably starting Deontay Johnson. But in this situation, I'm actually not going to start Deontay Johnson. Mainly because you know what you're going to get out of Boyd and McLaurin this week. And Deontay Johnson, you're not quite sure. I think he's going to go off. I think he's going to have a great game. But sometimes you got to play it safe. And in this situation, I would play it safe. I'd take the points. Calvin Ridley should have a great game to kind of offset if Boyd or McLaurin does bust. But yeah, to keep McLaurin, Ridley, Boyd, and Godwin in your lineup. Keep Deontay Johnson on your bench for this week. Hear me out. You should continue to be active in trade talks. Continue to keep your text lines open. Stop all this bullshit about how good your team is right now and how your team sucks too bad to win anyway, so you don't want to trade anymore. Get rid of all that. Fantasy football is a season-long game. The winning teams stay active all season long. In one league, I'm 4-2. I'm tied for third. I'm feeling really good. There's a 6-0 team and a 5-1 team. I'm feeling good where I'm at. But I'm not going to get complacent. In fact, just this morning, I went out and I traded Joe Mixon and Chase Claypool for Dalvin Cook. So I capitalized on how good Joe Mixon and Chase Claypool have been in the last couple weeks to get a top 3 running back the rest of the season. My team, I'm 4-2. I feel really good about my team, but I got better today. You should always continue to be trying to get better. Earlier in the week, I got a team I'm 3-3 with. I packaged Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyler Boyd. 2 guys I like. I don't like Juju near as much as I like Tyler Boyd, but I sent them to a pissed off Michael Thomas owner because Michael Thomas can't find the field right now. But you know what? If Michael Thomas does find the field, and if he does stay healthy, or gets healthy, I guess, and then stays healthy, he's still the number 1 wide receiver in the game, especially in a PPR format. The same league I traded for Christian McCaffrey 2 weeks ago. If they both get healthy, I'm set up for the playoffs, and that's what we're trying to do. The fact of the matter is, this is the time to set yourself up for future success. Whether you're 1-5 or 5-1, you have to continue to make your team better. Package 2 players together. Go get that great player. That's what I did in both of these scenarios. Know when your league's playoffs start. Begin to prepare your team for your playoffs. Either whether you need to make a run for the playoffs. I'm 1-5 in a league, and I'm desperately trying to get another additional piece so I can start making a run for the playoffs. In other leagues, maybe you're 5-1, 4-2. You need to start preparing for the playoffs because it doesn't matter if you're 10-0 and going into the playoffs or if you're 5-5 going into the playoffs. What matters is how good your team is during the playoffs so you can go win that championship. Be active in your league. Go make a trade this week. Why not? Go make a trade this week. Specifically make a trade that's going to make your team better. Good luck in week 7. And as always, don't over-tinker.